Some connections don't end, they pause, while one person pretends to move on. You may not hear their voice, you may not see their name, but something inside you keeps responding, quietly, relentlessly. That's because when someone once chose a different direction, the heart doesn't immediately understand the mind's decision. Time doesn't heal what was never resolved, it only makes the truth louder. Right now, there is someone who believed another path would be easier, safer, more logical. But logic cannot compete with emotional truth, and what they are experiencing now isn't confusion, it's awakening. This is the moment when distance stops protecting them, when comparison becomes painful, when silence starts demanding honesty. These 5 emotional stages reveal what is happening inside them, and why an unspoken message is forming, whether they send it or not. Part 1. The quiet return of memory. At first, memories arrive softly, not as longing, but as interruption, a smell, a song, a random moment that suddenly pulls them back to you. They didn't plan this. They believed choosing someone else meant closing a chapter. But memory doesn't obey decisions. It obeys an emotional imprint. Sigmund Freud once observed, "Unexpressed emotions will never die. They are buried alive and will come forth later in uglier ways." This is exactly what begins to happen. At night, when distractions fade, your presence returns, not as fantasy, but as comparison. They begin noticing what feels missing where they are now. This stage is uncomfortable because it threatens the story they told themselves. That choice was right. That moving on was necessary. That you were part of the past. But emotional memory is not nostalgia, it is unfinished dialogue. And the heart doesn't forget what once felt safe, seen, or deeply understood. They may resist this phase. They may deny it. But resistance only strengthens recall, because when love was real, it becomes a reference point, and everything afterward is measured against it. Part 2. When confidence turns into doubt. Confidence is loud in the beginning. Doubt arrives quietly. At first, they defended their decision, to themselves, to others, but doubt doesn't argue, it whispers. They start asking questions they avoided before. Why doesn't this feel the way I expected? Why do I still think about what I left? Why does comfort feel empty? Søren Kierkegaard wrote, "Anxiety is the dizziness of freedom." They exercised freedom, but now feel dizzy from the weight of it. This phase is marked by internal contradiction. Outwardly, they appear stable. Inwardly, they are fragmented. They replay moments with you, not to romanticize, but to understand. And understanding brings a dangerous realization. What they walked away from wasn't replaceable. This is when guilt emerges, not dramatic guilt, subtle guilt, the kind that reshapes self-image. They begin wondering if they misunderstood love, if they confuse peace with passion, if they traded depth for safety. And once doubt enters the heart, certainty never fully returns. Part 3. Emotional curiosity becomes fear. Curiosity follows doubt, but fear follows curiosity. They want to know how you are, not casually, meaningfully. Do you still feel? Have you healed? Have you replaced them? But reaching out means risk. Because if you've moved on, they must face loss, and if you haven't, they must face responsibility. Aristotle said, "Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom." But self-knowledge is uncomfortable, so instead of speaking, they observe, they watch from a distance, they test without committing. This is not manipulation. It's a fear of emotional exposure. They don't want to reopen a door unless they're sure it leads somewhere safe for them. Yet every attempt to avoid truth increases emotional pressure, because avoidance is still an engagement. Part 4. The collapse of comparison. Eventually, comparison becomes unavoidable. They notice how conversations feel shorter, how the connection feels thinner, how laughter lacks meaning. Rumi wrote, "Where there is ruin, there is hope for a treasure." The ruin is an illusion. The treasure is clarity. They realize the other connection lacks what they once dismissed, emotional depth. This isn't about choosing you again. It's about understanding what love actually was. Part 5. The unspoken message forms. At this stage, the message exists, even if it's never sent. I see now. I understand. I was wrong. The heart arrives at truth before courage does. Jean-Paul Sartre said, "We are our choices." And now they must live with theirs. Whether they speak or stay silent, the realization is complete. Some messages are meant to reach you. Others are meant to free you. If they speak, listen with wisdom, not longing. If they don't, trust that awareness doesn't require apology. You were not forgotten. You were understood. Late. And sometimes the greatest peace comes not from reunion, but from knowing. Your presence changed someone forever. If this resonated, like, comment, and subscribe. Your intuition led you here for a reason.